Hello, my name is Kirsten Solana, and this is my historical nonfiction children's literature unit. I have decided to do my historical nonfiction children's literature unit on the civil rights movement. I particularly chose books that dealt with people like Coretta Scott King, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and I try to stay away from any, just stories, pretty much. I decided to do the age range from, mostly 6th grade. There is one book, Nobody's Gonna Turn Me Around, that could be read to 5th graders. These children are in Piaget's concrete operation stage, which means they're capable of understanding conversion, reversibility, assimilation, and accommodation, and they're able to grasp history and the passage of time. This is important since we're talking about history. They'll understand that this didn't just happen yesterday, it happened quite some time ago. Also, these children are in Erickson's identity versus role confusion. And in this, these children, they want openness and honesty. And all of these stories provided are open and are quite honest. And they also teach children not to judge others based on religious beliefs, gender, race, or anything else that can make someone different. Nobody Gonna Turn Me Around, Stories and Songs of the Civil Rights Movement by Doreen Rappaport is about Moses Wright, who testified against 3 white men who accused of murdering Emmett Till. It also talks about James Lawson, who was a trained activist, who taught activists not to fight with fist or words. This is a good lesson for children to understand, especially in this age range where there is a lot of bullying going on in schools. It also is a tribute to the Crusaders of Equality and Peace in America. This is a trilogy, so this is the last book in the trilogy. Dare to Dream, Coretta Scott King and the Civil Rights Movement. Coretta Scott King was Martin Luther King's wife, and her and Martin Luther King led protest marches and stood up to prejudice and violence. The beginning of this story talks about how she would walk in the heat and she would watch these white children in buses with air conditioning. So Angela Shelf Medeiros used King's autobiography as her main source to rewrite her biography, charting important events in her life, starting from childhood to after MLK's death. It also charted key events of the civil rights movement. They Had a Dream, The Civil Rights Struggle, by Jules Archer. Unlike the other books, this book is quite heavy and quite dry. It talks about pivotal civil rights activists and their contribution. It compares and contrasts Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, MLK Jr., and Malcolm X's philosophy and tactics. This book was really hard to read, so I feel like 6th graders would especially find this harder to read. But it is a good book for them to understand that not everyone taught the same way. The Civil Rights Movement, an interactive history adventure. This book is quite interesting, and I feel like children even younger than 5th grade could understand it and enjoy it. This book allows readers to choose different paths of key parts of the civil rights movement, such as working for or against desegregation of Central High School, to desegregate bus lines, and get involved in the Project C protest. At the end of the book, it does give a list of further readings and internet sites. And last but definitely not least, I chose The Watsons Go to Birmingham, which we all read last week. I found it quite interesting. Even though it is a fictional novel, there is a part where it's based off the historical 16th Street Baptist Church, and we saw how it affected Kenny and how the family had to come together to kind of help him cope with it, and how Byron grew up so fast. Additionally, it brings bullying and racism to the forefront, and how African American families had to survive during this time, while making it an interesting read for kids. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful night, or have a wonderful day, and it was great talking to all of you guys on the discussion boards.